Dan, we are ready for the news.
If you're tired of the same old news,
what more do you want?
I want the truth.
You're hearing it. Strap yourselves in, folks.
never fear.
What's the dealio?
Part of life is learning to let things go.
We've got news moms can use.
What was that name again? I missed that.
News moms can use.
Brought to you by Therapon Skin Health, helping moms have healthy, youthful-looking skin for 20 years.
This is News Moms Can Use, and we at Channel Mom do pick our news stories based on what we think moms want to hear or what they need to hear. We're not just here to sell you the soap. We actually care about what you need, and that's why we do our news the way we do. So today we've got an exclusive interview with someone who has been very close to the Jessica Ridgeway case. Of course, 10-year-old Jessica went missing while walking to school in Westminster, Colorado. This story, I can almost not read it because it makes me so sad. She went missing walking to school in Westminster, Colorado on October 5th. And she was later found brutally murdered. So brutal that we will not even give you the details, but we are very aware that this case has frightened a lot of parents who no longer want their kids to even play outside or walk away from them at the mall. So today we've got a man who helped headed up the crisis response team when Jessica went missing for Jefferson County Schools. He is the director of student services for Jeffco Schools. Of course, Jessica's school was in Jefferson County, and now her 17-year-old confessed killer in custody. He also went to a school in Jefferson County at one point. So, Bryan Krause on the show with us today knows a lot about this case. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Good morning, Jenny.
We're happy to have you. I do have to reveal, in the interest of full disclosure, that you are Shelley's husband, and I knew that you were having to go through this case because Shelley was talking to me about it. Why don't you just tell me very briefly, Bryan, as it was unfolding, Jessica's a 10-year-old daughter, and you and Shelley have 3 children, one of whom is a 10-year-old girl. Right. How did this impact you personally as it began to unfold?
Well, you know, it was difficult because a lot of times kids don't understand, you know, what's going on, and there's a lot of questions that parents have around how much do they tell their kids and what's appropriate. And you know, what we really recommended to parents was that they use age-appropriate language and that they are honest with their kids and tell them about what happened, that Jessica died. And, you know, they don't have to share the details of kind of what happened, but to understand that kids process trauma a little bit differently than adults do, mm-hmm. and it may manifest itself a little bit differently, like not being able to sleep or having, you know, dreams and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it affected us just like it did any other parent. I mean, it's a parent's worst nightmare that their son or daughter would disappear and end up dead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's okay for me to say that one of your children really did struggle with it, didn't want to sleep by themselves, and I think that happened to a lot of kids across the country. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's absolutely okay. And what parents need to do is be flexible with that and understand that there may be some regression, and they really just need to spend time with their kids and talk about what they're fearful of. You know, are they fearful of going to school? Are they fearful of what may happen to them? And talk about those feelings and really let them know. Obviously, this is a tragic event, but the likelihood of it happening is still very, very rare. It doesn't happen every day, but it does happen. There is evil in the world, but you can't keep that from you know, you doing the normal things that you need to, and them being kids. And over time, they learn to kind of cope with that, but there's some definite strategies that we really recommend to parents.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. You had to go both to Jessica's school and now to the accused killer's school. I have a feeling that parents are concerned about 2 things. One is, how do they address this with their kids and keep them safe? Are there certain tips or are there certain things they can say to set their minds at ease that this is a remote possibility that this is going to happen to their child? And secondly, and we'll move on to this next, what about parents that are concerned about their teenagers? This boy was obviously in a huge amount of trouble. His own mom helped turn him in. And did she not see some signs? And my guess is that parents kind of want to know what if there are any signs in this guy that he's not convicted yet. He's accused, but I think he's a confessed. Did he not confess, Bryan?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to me first about when you were at Jessica's school. What were you telling parents and children about how to keep themselves safe, but also the statistics, so they wouldn't worry that this was a 1 in 3 chance. It's more like 1 in millions.
Right. Well, and it just brings up so many fears for parents. But there's some things you can do to be proactive about it. And one of the things we really stress with our own kids and then the kids that we come in contact with in the school district is to have situational awareness. And one of the things that I kind of do sometimes with my own kids, I say, okay, what's your self-evacuation plan? If you needed to leave right now, where would you go? How would you get there? One of the things that we always tell younger kids, and it's different from elementary age to high school age, but we tell younger kids it's okay to break the rules. If somebody is trying to get you, you can run, you can yell, you can kick, you can bite. You can do all of those things to try to get away from somebody. And if you feel unsafe, get away from that situation and tell an adult, and they can tell them that you feel unsafe, and they can help you. And the other thing too is the whole notion of stranger danger is not as realistic as it used to be. Sometimes it's somebody that they recognize. It could be a possible abductor. It could be somebody they've seen around the neighborhood. And so if we just tell kids and parents to talk about with their kids, if kids feel uncomfortable, tell them to get away from that situation. And when parents can walk with their students to and from school and say, okay, where would we go if somebody tried to get us here? And not to make the student fearful, but just so that there's a plan in place. And tell the kids to trust their instincts. If they, use it as a teachable moment. If they don't feel safe, then, tell them just to get away from that situation and tell an adult. And the other thing, too, that sometimes some of these predators do is they'll have something enticing, like candy or a puppy or something like that, and they'll ask, they may ask a kid to, help me find my puppy and that sort of thing. We tell younger students that adults ask adults for help. They don't ask children for help. So if an adult is asking you for help, that's kind of a bad sign, and they need to get away from that situation.
Okay, interesting. And you're right. It isn't necessarily a stranger danger thing anymore. And in this case, is it not possible? And I think I'm getting his name right. I didn't even put it in my story today, but I think it's Austin Sig. Is it possible that she even had seen him around the neighborhood, because they didn't live too far apart, right?
Yeah, I think it was fairly close in the same neighborhood. So it is a possibility. It's a
possibility that she didn't think of him as a stranger, so she might not have thought of him as unsafe. And it's true that we need to teach our kids. It could be somebody that you kind of know. You got to be careful about that. Very briefly, Bryan, we've got about 2 minutes left, maybe even 1 minute left, actually. What about this teenager? I've read all kinds of things about him, and that he dropped out of school, and there's a potential that there's a story out there that he was addicted to pornography. What kind of signs can parents have, and what do they do if they think their teenager is going down a road that can lead them to act out in a crazy way like this?
Well, yeah, and I guess for parents, there's a few things that that I think law enforcement and schools kind of look for, and that's some of the behaviors that are kind of outside the norm, and things like violent behavior, and then if they're interested in fire starting, or there's animal cruelty going on, that sort of thing. That parents should definitely seek mental health professional help. And really, talk to their kids about it, and kind of get to the bottom of it if they see some behavior that's way outside the norm. And it's in this day and age, it's beyond just kind of testing things out and that sort of thing. But if you see something that's that serious, that you need to seek help for that student and try to get them talking about kind of what is causing them, the root cause of what's causing them to do some of these things.
Yeah, just don't ignore it. Hey, Bryan, thank you so much for being with us on the show today. Bryan Krause, we really appreciate you giving us some insight, and we hope that you've helped parents today who are nervous. There is a way to handle this, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. And our hearts, our prayers go out to the Ridgeway family. And then, I have to say,
moms.
and both moms, the mom of the accused killer. So tragic. And I just want to say this, try not to be too anxious, but do take precautions with your kids. Do talk to them about it. Don't be afraid to talk to them about it. Tell them to stay away from people that want help with puppies and want to give them candy. And we got to reiterate that stuff with our kids,